I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you! Come on!
Hey guys, it's Valkrin. I've been giving lessons for a while now, and a topic a lot of people bring up that watch my videos or I give lessons to, they want to learn how to carry games. And when I first started addressing these questions, I didn't really know how to respond to it because carrying a game is such a complex thing. There are so many variables that go into it. Every game's different, different champions are playing, the different teammates that you have. But after a while, I started getting the hang of this teaching thing. And I feel like I finally reached the point where I can start teaching at a level where it can kind of connect to my own gameplay. And this video is going to start a series, sort of me trying my best to teach you how to get to my level of play. And this video is going to contain more specific information that I've included than in pretty much any of my other videos. Information that you can directly translate to your games for whatever role that I'm discussing in the particular video. And it's going to be an excellent resource of information if this is what you're looking for. But first, I want to address an issue that I think the community kind of developed over a period of time, and it has to do with the term carry. Most people think that carrying a game is only doable by getting a ton of kills and carrying the game single-handedly, and they dub themselves, I'm going to carry the game because my teammates are going to feed. That is a really bad terminology, and that's a really bad thought process to get into. The truth is, the best way to carry a game is to accumulate an advantage for yourself, but reinvest that advantage that you have obtained back into your team. And that might sound kind of vague at first, but I'm going to go into detail about that in the later portions of the video. But let's jump into a replay right now. Okay guys, so we're looking at a replay from the point of view of mid lane, and mid lane is definitely one of the most potent roles for carrying in solo queue. I mean, that's obvious. It's a very popular role. The position on the map makes it perfect for roaming. But before you do anything in a solo lane, you need to analyze what the enemy jungler can do early game, mid game, and late game. And this is really important because if you understand this, then you'll know exactly what to do in terms of laning. Okay, so their jungler is Fiddlesticks, and we have a Nocturne. How do I categorize Fiddlesticks? Now, first off, Fiddlesticks does not have high mobility early game. And Fiddlesticks does have crowd control and a little bit of damage, but that lack of mobility categorizes Fiddlesticks as a low threat jungler early game. And I would categorize a high threat jungler as being something like Elise, Vi, something that has a gap closer, high damage, and a combination of that with crowd control. And if you have all three of those, then those are the scariest early game junglers, and you have to play accordingly. But because they have a Fiddlesticks jungle, and we have a Nocturne jungle, we have the advantage early game. Nocturne can beat Fiddlesticks in duels. So in that 1v1 scenario, I know that if Nocturne ever finds Fiddlesticks in the jungle, Nocturne can kill Fiddlesticks 1v1. So you take that in consideration because you know that if Nocturne can win a duel against Fiddlesticks, if you have the advantage on your lane opponent already, in 2v2 skirmishes early game, we would have the advantage. Okay, so going into laning phase, I know that they have a low threat jungler, and I need to pressure the lane as hard as I can. And here's why I need to pressure the lane as hard as I can. Because if they have a low threat jungler, then they can't punish you for having early game aggression. Here's a rule that will pretty much always be true. If you push the lane and you don't get punished for it, you will take an advantage over your lane opponent. That's very simple. That's just how the game goes. And as you can see, I immediately start pushing the lane. As soon as I get here, I don't help my jungler leash. And this is something that everyone should consider for mid lane in Season 4. Every jungler in Season 4 will smite their first buff. As a mid laner, you don't really necessarily need to help that. So by you getting mid faster, if you're against a low threat jungler, like them having a Fiddlesticks, then me getting to lane fast and pushing as quickly as I am, Zed is pretty far back, he hasn't damaged any of the minions, I'm starting to push immediately, and that's going to give me an edge because if you can outshove your lane opponent quickly, then that opens up doors to roam to other places very early in the game. You don't necessarily have to have a kill on your lane opponent or to, you know, make them recall to roam. If you have it shoved up to a certain point, you deny them vision. Minions give vision. And if you're pushed up to their tower, they won't have access and vision to most of the lane. So I'm shoving very quickly. Just taking off all the dagger marks on the minions, getting last hits. Zed is starting to play accordingly. Zed realizes that I'm pushing as hard as I can. But here's something you should know, and I know I'm pausing a lot, and I'm going to be pausing a lot throughout this replay. When you're trading, you have to know what your opponent's going to do. And I'll be a little bit more specific. When your opponent is going in for a last hit, it's very obvious. It's very obvious that Zed is going in for this last hit. Look at the minion's HP. One auto attack, he's going to get that last hit. So I know what Zed is going to be doing for the next 1 second. I can plan my harass accordingly. The minion that I'm eyeing is not in, you know, last hitting range. I just got one last hit. But looking at Zed's position right now, I know Zed is probably not going to harass me in the next 1 to 2 seconds because he's going in for this last hit. He could throw a shuriken at me, but I know he's not going to walk up and auto attack me. Because I have that knowledge, I can steadily understand what's going on through the laning phase and play accordingly. So because I know he's going in for that last hit, I'm not afraid to go in for this last hit that's coming up right now. I go in for that last hit, we're going in for the last hits at the same time. Normally there's a situation in which, you know, a Katarina might be afraid because Zed will beat you in an auto attack war. Another thing, when you're shoving the lane, you take an advantage because you'll start forcing your lane opponent to use abilities to last hit in lane. And this is something that a lot of people underrate. Because if you're forcing, you know, Zed to use his shuriken the last hit like this in a melee matchup, then for one thing, he's not going to have that shuriken to use to harass me. And another is, if you're against an opponent that has mana, you're slowly winning a war of attrition. And as you can see, Zed is using his shuriken on this minion, and I'm still in the minion wave, able to last hit easily without having to use my abilities. I use my Q on Zed because I have control of the minion wave, I can use my abilities on the enemy champion consistently and still maintain advantage of the lane. Free last hit. Look at this. It's so obvious when you really think about it, when a lane opponent is going to go in for a last hit. I mean, it's really obvious. I mean, look at this. We know what's going to happen. As a spectator, as a laner, you know what's going to happen in the next 1 to 2 seconds. We're going to go in for these last hits. Now, we could plan harass accordingly to try and prevent each other from getting last hits, but this early in the game, you typically won't have that as an option. At level 1, you can't really do trades like that unless it really permits. But you can kind of predict how the lane is going to flow out. And I even missed that last hit. That was kind of bad, but because I'm zoning Zed, I'm using my abilities directly on Zed easily controlling the lane. Now that I'm level 2, and one thing to note is it takes the entire first minion wave and the next minion in the next wave to hit level 2. So a total of 7 minions. 6 minions from the first wave, and then the 7th minion, 1 from the next wave. And you'll have enough for level 2 in a solo lane. In duo lanes, it's 9 minions. The entire first minion wave, and then all the melee creeps. Very important to know. So right here, I mean, I know I haven't really been commentating exactly what's going on, but what's been going on right now is I'm finishing shoving it out. And when you push it this quickly, the lane is actually going to reset, because by the time the jungler gets here, the lane will just be in the middle of the lane. You have to push it very quickly. But if you dump it on the enemy tower, then the lane will reset by the time the jungler is coming to gank you anyways. But look at this lane position, all right? For 1 second, just look at what can possibly happen. Is it possible that Zed can kill me right now? No. It's impossible for Zed to kill me. And you want to know why? Because I have more minions than him. I have a level advantage on him because I pushed. He's in XP debt because he hasn't collected the XP and gold from all of these minions. So at this point in time, there is absolutely no way this Zed can kill me. I know that for a fact because I have control of the minion wave. He can't come into the minion wave because if he wants to fight me in minions, you win. You should always remember that. If you have a minion advantage and it's a 1v1 scenario, you can almost always win it this early in the game, even regardless of the matchup. Okay, the next most important thing, when you shove it to the enemy tower, when you have all of these minions, a lot of doors do open up. I mean, you can do a lot of different things from this particular situation. But what you can really only focus on doing early in the game is trying to prevent Zed from getting these last hits. I mean, later in the game, I could be doing some fancy stuff, like possibly going up and roaming from different angles or recalling. But in this particular situation, because it's so early in the game, Zed is still in XP debt. You know, look at the lane positions, bottom and top. I cannot really roam bottom or top right now. I mean, there's just no situation that would permit a level 3 Katarina to get a kill. But in this situation, I can try and prevent Zed from getting most of these last hits. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I don't have any minions I need to take right now. No minions are low enough. So all I need to do right now is punish Zed for trying to last hit close to the tower. And that's exactly what's happening. Zed is desperately trying to get last hits, and when he's doing that, they usually won't return trades with you. So you get free harass off on them. So by pushing the lane, you put them in XP and gold debt, and then while they're trying to last hit under the tower, you can just spam abilities and harass them. And while all of this is happening, you do need to be aware that you could be jungle ganked. But in this certain situation, because it's a low threat jungler, and I'm a champion with high mobility mid lane, if I get ganked, if I have a firm enough control over my lane, then it won't matter. I can escape without burning summoners. Look at my positioning going into this gank. Okay, Fiddlesticks is coming up. I'm going to pause it right now. This was a good angle for Fiddlesticks to come in from, because, let's be honest, when you're blue side as a mid laner, you expect a jungler to come in from this entrance, right? I mean, you expect them to come from red side. If they go from blue to red, you expect them to come in from this side. So by Fiddlesticks coming in from this way, it kind of catches you off guard. But it still doesn't matter. This is a lane that Fiddlesticks should not gank, and I know that. Because what's going to happen, and I'll even slow it down, there is no way they can kill me. I'm full enough HP because I've been harassing and controlling the lane. I'm feared. He throws a dark wind. The only damage I take is 1 tick from the drain and 1 dark wind proc. That's it. I Shimpo to the back line. They have no way to chase me. They could burn summoners. They could do everything they possibly can do in terms of abilities and summoners early game, and they cannot kill me. And I can just escape without burning summoners. Now, you can't always do this because I'm Katarina and I have Shimpo. I can easily do that. And because now I know where Fiddlesticks is, I see Fiddlesticks mid lane, I'm no longer afraid of his ganks. He's revealed himself. My laners know where Fiddlesticks is. Fiddlesticks is no longer a hidden threat. So by me drawing out their jungler, I now have complete control of the mid lane. Because my other laners know exactly where Fiddlesticks is. They can play more aggressive. And I can play more aggressive because I know what angle I see him escaping from, and I know what angle he ganked from. So I can predict what sides of the jungle he's cleared and whatnot from that. Here's another really important thing. When you're mid lane, when you're top lane, if you're forced to recall early, make sure you recall in a siege minion wave. And the reason being, the siege minion wave is the wave that will, if it's pushed to your tower, siege minions will take the aggro from the turret immediately. You'll lose the least amount of experience in gold if you leave on a siege minion wave, because the siege minion will take a whole lot more punishment from your tower than your other minions will. And Zed stayed even though it was a siege minion wave. If Zed had recalled immediately after Fiddlesticks had come, he probably would have gotten a free recall off and he wouldn't have missed any XP, because it's very difficult to shove against a cannon minion this early. And by the time I get this cannon minion to the tower, he'll probably have already been back before the siege minion even dies, because it takes up so much damage. But because he didn't recall, I know I'm preparing to go all in on this guy. And when you have this big of an HP lead mid lane, you can take a few tower hits just to pepper them down. And that's what's going to happen. I have a level advantage on him right now. He's going to hit level 5 as soon as he clears his minions anyways. But until then, you can make a play happen. The lower level you are, the less HP you have, because you get innate stats from just leveling up and stuff like that. And I'm going to go through that a little bit slower because I actually didn't realize it was coming up so quickly. Okay, so going more into detail about what happened here. Look at Zed's HP. He's got full summoners, it's irrelevant. I have full HP, I can tank tower hits. I know that Fiddlesticks ran up from mid lane up into the top area. He went up there. So at most, there's no way Fiddlesticks can come in from below me, from that angle. So I know where Fiddlesticks is. I've got a good idea of where he is. Because of that, I can play more aggressive. As long as this mid laner doesn't have a way of CCing me under the tower, you can afford to take a few tower hits to harass them while they're last sitting under the tower if you have a big enough HP lead in the lane. Right there, I Shunpo in, I take 2 tower hits, but it's enough to put the enemy mid laner in kill range. With Ignite plus any of my abilities, I can basically kill him. And this Zed misplays because he thinks I won't go in until I have my Shunpo up. My Shunpo has 7 seconds on it, so he thinks he's got plenty of time before I would go all in. But because I know where the Fiddlesticks was, but because I have him in such a bad position, I can go all in with just burning my Flash. He's just low enough. I burn Q, Flash W, Ignite, easily. I killed him. So step 1, when you're trying to carry a game, establish lane dominance. Win your lane either through out-pushing them, just killing them, or taking advantage that would lead to further advantages. In this particular case, I was able to kill him. Now, Zed probably would have had the recall early, but what can I do now? Now that I've taken the advantage mid lane, and you only need to take an advantage once to translate that advantage to somewhere else in the map. So I have 3 different options from this point on. I can, 1, recall, 2, stay mid and keep pushing, or 3, roam. But in order of importance of what you should do, roaming is paramount to everything you can possibly do mid lane in solo queue. Farming up and getting huge numbers, some games that'll help you win. But in most games, by you roaming, you will get your team fed. And it's as simple as this. After you've taken advantage by making the enemy mid laner recall, or you've shoved it to their tower and you've taken away vision from them, you can look to roam. But in this particular case, I know I have enough time and I only need 1 more wave of experience to hit level 6. And as Katarina, my kill pressure will go up through the roof as soon as I hit 6. But while this is all going on, you need to keep awareness of what's going on elsewhere. And you can do this very simply by just looking at your mini-map whenever you can. You can kind of predict how lanes are going just by where they are. And I just hit 6, I'm clearing these last minions. Zed is just now getting back mid lane. But look at the positions top and bottom. Now top lane, full HP, my Wukong is pushed to his tower. Bottom lane, oh boy, look at this. My bottom lane is low, their bottom lane is low. And the lane is positioned so that my bottom lane is about to pin them on their tower. Perfect scenario for a mid laner to go bottom. There's a capable play of being made. Bottom lane, they have no summoners. Typically when they're low like this, it means an all-in happened. No summoners are bottom. This is perfect for you as a mid laner because this is a scenario that makes it absolutely perfect to roam on. Although I don't have any summoners, they're low in HP and under their tower. And a combination like that you cannot pass up as a mid laner. So Zed is still mid. He was an XP debt, so he had to catch up by pushing that. He thought I recalled, but instead I'm in position to roam bottom. And here's something that's very important. Note the route I took to bottom lane. It was very possible that this could be warded. This entire area, this is prime warding zone for bottom lane. But because it's so early into the game, look at Blitz's items. He hasn't recalled yet. At most, they just have used maybe a trinket ward in this area or not, but that's irrelevant. What I'm trying to get across is whenever you're making a roaming play happen, you have to act as though it is warded. If you suspect that it's warded, they're backing off or something like that, don't follow through with the play. Because if they know it's going to happen, unless it's an absolute advantage like this, like even if they had known I was coming, there's nothing they could do to stop this play from happening. And they put a trinket ward over, and I immediately go in. This is a situation in which if they hadn't put a trinket ward here, I probably would have waited a second or two for my bottom lane to get in position for this dive. But because they immediately saw me on this trinket ward, I had to go immediately. Because they had vision of this entire area, and you know, the play was made. If I didn't go in immediately, they would just run. So I had to go in. I'm getting my advantage translated to the bottom lane. This is so important. Because if I didn't make this play happen, my bottom lane possibly could not have dove that safely. And they might have tried it. You never know. And this game could have, you know, been much more lopsided based on the fact that, you know, kill trades are never good. If you're just trading kills 1 for 1, then you're just kind of trading gold back and forth, and games will last longer like that. So I'm recalling at 6 minutes, and I have a ton of gold. And I know I said that, to carry, you have to translate your advantage to your teammates. I just did that, even though I got the kills. Even though I'm 3-0 right now. Being 3-0 from just killing my lane opponent mid, that's pretty good. I could probably translate that advantage to a lot of other advantages. But by me getting those 3 kills and giving those 2 assists to bottom lane and taking advantage of the fact that bottom lane had made a prior play, burning the enemy summoners, that was probably the best play I could have made at that point in time. There's nothing better than what I just did in this particular scenario. You double kill their bottom lane, even though I got the kills on the carry, that's no big deal. I killed them, my bottom lane gets a free recall, they get assist gold, we take advantage of the bottom lane. And it's just as simple as that. Okay, some other things I need to go over before I end the video. Mid lane, map awareness is king. I mean, knowing that Blitzcrank and Lucian were that low, that came about because of my map awareness. And here's some good exercises that you can use every game to develop good map awareness. Every single time you get a last hit mid lane and nothing important's happening in terms of you immediately harassing or trying to mitigate harass, look at your minimap. Get into a habit of doing that. Every single time you kill a minion, glance at your minimap. It doesn't have to be, a long, stare at your minimap. Just glance at it. And it will tell you volumes. Just the positions of the lanes, where your jungler is. You can possibly see where their jungler is, but that is key. If you have good map awareness, then you can make plays like this, because that's basically all it is. You take one small advantage in your lane, you know what's going on in other lanes because of your map awareness, and if you see an opportunity, you go and do it. And that's so much better than just staying mid all game and just getting huge CS numbers, because you're translating that advantage to your teammates. You're getting them fed very quickly. Even if they're not getting kills, them getting assist is very important. Okay guys, so this concludes this portion of the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because if you like my content, that's going to be really important for you to keep up with my future projects and stuff like that. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook to keep up to date with my future projects at Valkrin and Facebook/Valkrin. And lastly, if you learned something today and you want to learn a whole lot more, follow my stream, twitch.tv/Valkrin. My streams are designed to be as informative as possible. Thanks for watching and have a good day.